Welcome back, everyone, to the PACT Mantality podcast. And we have got our 10th episode with myself, Carly, from Women's PACT, and Paul from PACT Mantality. And we've got a special guest today, massive inspiration of the city. And it's our first female of the podcast. And not only that, but it's going to be our new sponsor. So we've got Aimee Ormesher. She created 8 Weeks with Aimee in 2018 and won Best Female Trainer in 2018 and was named Best Online Coach in 2020 at the ProFit Awards. Well done, Aimee.
Wow.
And the new online platform that she's got out now is Forever Fit, which is a toolkit for women to achieve optimal health and well-being physically, mentally, emotionally and spiritually. This provides live workouts, workout programs, nutritional coaching, virtual yoga classes, guided meditations, breathwork sessions, monthly recipe books, guest speakers from leading industry experts, and much, much more. So thank you so much, Aimee, for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, made up to be here.
So the podcast, we'd like to try and talk a little bit about mental health, well-being, and that seems to be like what you do anyway with your platforms. So I'm really looking forward to getting to hear a little bit more about it, about your platforms and how you actually got to becoming this entrepreneur. So yeah, really excited. But firstly, we'll have a little check-in.
Yeah, just thank you again, Aimee, as well, for joining us. Made up you come on.
You.
And thank you for sponsoring the podcast as well.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to be a part of it. I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so let's start with a bit of a check-in.
Okay.
Yeah, just what's been happening for you the past couple of weeks?
The past couple of weeks for me have been so busy. So at the minute I'm actually studying a nutrition degree. I'm coming to the last of the lectures now and I've got my exams in September. So as well as obviously launching Forever Fit, I'll be a fully qualified nutritionist. So another string to the bow, which I've wanted to do for ages. I've also been building and preparing Forever Fit for the launch, and I've just actually launched another intake of 8 weeks. So that started today. So it's been all systems go the last few weeks, but it's been good. I've loved every single minute of it, to be honest. I feel like I've been productive rather than busy. So yeah, it's been a good few weeks.
Yeah.
It's a good way to actually look at it as well, as rather than saying, oh, I'm busy, it's too much, it's productive. So yeah, I like that.
Carly?
Well, I was going to say maybe busy, but I'm going to use Amy's way and say I've been productive. And the kids are off school at the minute, so trying to juggle work and kids can be a little bit difficult because kids they want everything about them. So yeah, trying to juggle both has been little bit tricky, but yeah, and just enjoying things. I'm trying to, again, I think I said this on the last time, just remembering to have a little bit of fun because we get a little bit serious sometimes, don't we? And you can imagine, Aimee, with so much work that you forget that fun time. So August is the month for fun for me. So
it's the month of my birthday as well.
Yeah,
I like
Don't
it.
forget that.
And that's why I waited for August to have fun.
For me, definitely like really, really busy. But at the same time, like it's really exciting times because things are like, obviously you start with an idea, and the way an idea and one thought, one idea, one seed can just start to like evolve. And it feels like things are like moving really, really quickly in terms of what I'm doing with PACT, and there's all kinds of meetings happening, there's all type of different businesses that are getting involved, and it's really exciting. But at the same time, it can be a bit overwhelming for someone like me, because sometimes I like to get things perfect, and I like to make sure that things are done in the right way. So it's just learning to manage that. But I'm living my purpose and I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm doing it how I want to do it. So yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But I can't wait for this, Aimee, to get into it.
I'm excited for this. Can't wait to.
Let's get into it, eh?
Do it.
So let's get started with, obviously we've talked a little bit about what you're doing, but where did that all stem from? So let's go back and talk about Aimee as a child. Let's talk about your upbringing and how things was when you were younger.
Okay. So growing up then, I was raised by my mum predominantly, with my little brother and sister. I've got a younger sister and a younger brother. And even though I do have a dad, he wasn't very present throughout my life, through like either alcohol or drugs, or he was in prison. So I didn't really have much of a relationship with him growing up. So it was more raised by my mum. My mum's amazing. She was literally like the best mum she could have been for like me, my brother and my sister. But growing up was amazing. Like, I was really into horses. I rode horses my whole life. So I basically lived on the farm growing up from a young age, riding horses. And spent a lot of time with my nan and my granddad as well. Spent a lot of time down the caravan at the weekends and stuff with them. So yeah, like growing up in childhood was, even though it had its challenges, probably like most people, for the majority of it was nice. I was always supported. I was always loved. But yeah, I just didn't have much of a father figure in my life growing up.
How did that affect you, not having that male figure in your life? I know you said you had a brother. Was he younger or older?
Yeah, he's younger. So
Yeah.
I think he's 4 years younger. He's 3 or 4 years younger, I think he is. Do you know what? When I was growing up, I didn't really notice it too much, because I think when you're a young child. So, for example, God, I must have only been around 8 years old when like he barely started getting into alcohol and drugs, and then I think he went to prison when I was like 10. So I can't really remember a lot of it. And at the time, I feel like when you're a child, you just go through the motions, don't you? And you don't really think about it. And it wasn't until I got to when I started going on my spiritual journey and my healing journey, and started doing a lot of inner work and reflecting, I started realizing how much it was actually playing out in my life and how I was behaving. So there was probably I was getting into relationships with people, and I was letting people treat me a certain way and like disrespect me and things, because I just wanted that love from somebody, and I was accepting any love that a man would give me in hindsight. And I'm not saying all my relationships were bad, they weren't, but there was some relationships where I took a lot more than I actually should have, and I should have walked away a lot sooner. And I do I that was because I just really craved that love, and at the time I didn't realise it, but when I started doing the inner work, I realised that was a massive part of it. A positive to come from it though, because I feel like a lot of people can have these, they can experience these things growing up, and I don't want to say sort of like victim mentality and be like, oh, that's why I am the way I am, or they'll use a bad experience as an excuse as to why they behave. Whereas I feel like mine was always the driver for me. So, for example, I feel like I lacked like safety and security. So for me, when I got to like late teens, early 20s, I was like, no, I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. I'm going to make sure I'm independent, so no one can take it away from me. And I'm going to build this bubble around myself and make sure I'm okay. So that's always been the driving force for me. So in a way, there's negatives to it because it probably plays out a lot in my life, but then also positives as well, because it's helped me to become the person I am, and also achieve what I've achieved.
I fully get that. I had like similar experience, but like my dad was he was addicted to alcohol growing up, while I was growing up, you know what I mean? And then like he ended up in Stoddard House and stuff like that. Like he ended up like quite mentally ill, my dad, and he started to take his own life a few times when we were younger and stuff like that. But I sort of try to look at that as that does actually drive me in what I do sometimes to help other people. You know what I mean? That pain has actually helped me to get to where I am right now and to do what I'm doing right now. While at the same time, obviously, not having like a victim mentality. But I sort of think like what my dad had to go through, sort of for me to learn the lessons of stuff that has probably happened for how many years, you know what I mean, before him maybe. He's had to go through that experience for me to be the one to learn. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. So I completely get you on what you're saying there, Aimee.
Yeah, and the same for me, a little bit different maybe. My mum was an alcoholic. That was like when I was in my adult life. So it was after the loss of my nan that she started drinking. But she had her own struggles, didn't she? Like a lot before the drinking, she'd suffered with the mental health. And it's quite interesting just listening to the three of us. Like we can all resonate on the drinking side of things. And it's quite high, the numbers.
Yeah.
And I like the way that you both put it there, is that, yeah, we can look at it and say like, oh, my life's been hard. But when we can look at it with a compassionate like heart and think we've all been through something, and not all of us have got the tools to be able to get through those situations. And maybe our parents weren't able to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice that you can, bring a little bit of gratitude to say thank you for making me the men and women that we are today.
Definitely.
And understanding and being compassionate to their lives that they've lived, because we don't always understand how people are built, but we're all completely different, and how we handle things are so different, aren't they?
And I think like that was something I didn't learn till later on, was to have compassion for him, or even my mum in certain situations. Because when I did start going on me like healing journey and doing a lot of inner work, a lot of things were coming up, and it was like I was resenting them for it, and I was like sort of in the mentality of like, why did this happen to me? I didn't deserve this. And then when I was actually in a mushroom ceremony, and it come up this insight, and it was showing me like how it was for my mum during that time, and and what she had to go through, and it allowed me to have more compassion for her and understanding also with my dad as well, because you don't know, obviously, like you said before, about what it took for him to get to that point and why he is the way he is. But no, it's definitely been a massive part of my journey, and this is why I am so passionate about what I do, because I do think a lot of people more so now are struggling with it, and you hear them more than ever now, which makes me so sad. Young kids taking their own lives, and I said to my partner Jake the other night, I was like, something's got to give, I said, because it's as if it's just the normal thing to do for kids when they get to 17. Just go out and get bladdered every weekend until you get to a certain point or a certain age in your life, and then it's just you start to settle down then. But I just feel like that something's got to change.
It's like a systematic problem, isn't it? There's something happening.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the norm. Like I feel like it was different maybe when we were going out, because we were 16, 17, we went out in Converse, and probably what you went to school in, you went out and just had a ball, didn't you? And you woke up the next day and you were fine. There was no Instagram, there was no social media, there was no pressure. You just went out and had a good time. Whereas I just think it's all completely changed now. There's just so much pressure on younger people now, but there's a massive issue with drink, and it just being so acceptable to just be like that in society, and it's a proper problem. Definitely. I think.
Something that, like, I think you've said it in the past, it's sometimes like, it's just normal behaviour, it's part of growing up.
Just because it becomes normal, like it's socially acceptable, does not make it normal. But it becomes our norm, if that makes sense. Like, it becomes our norm because everyone does it. But that doesn't make something right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But it's sort of like, it is a societal problem we've got to feel like with a lot of certainly like the younger generation, but that stems down, doesn't it? It's not like the problem doesn't lie with them, it then comes down to like values, their values and what they're aspiring to be and stuff like that. And if we give these young people aspirations and values that they want to go and achieve whatever they want to achieve, and they actually believe in themselves, and that can sort of, I believe that can maybe make the problem a lot less than what it is, by giving them some belief in themselves, by getting them around not just men but even women, looking up to the right type of women, having the right role models, aspiring to be like the maybe certain type of people. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
definitely. I think having role models in their life's important. But do you think they'd ever have that fear of missing out then, though, if all the friends were doing it? Because it is a pressure, by the way, isn't it? It is a pressure.
Like, I felt that pressure, certainly, like to be someone that you're not. Like, you're doing that to fit in, and you're trying to get that, because you said before, like, about the way you've acted in relationships, looking for that love. I was growing up, and while I was growing up, I was always looking for that love to be accepted by other men. And then there's a bit of a lack of trust or there has been a lack of trust in me with men, you know, because of how you've been raised in certain areas. So, yeah, completely can resonate with that, Aimee, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will pretty much be the same with you, is that at some point in our lives there's some sort of pressure, and it is tough, isn't it, to actually do what you truly want to do or what you feel you should do. And there's a big difference on that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's knowing what you truly want to do, because that gets a little bit clouded by what's going on around you.
Yeah. And what you want to do or what other people want you to do.
Yeah.
So it's being real to you. And that can only come with knowing yourself. You can only know yourself when you do a bit of work on yourself, you know what I mean? To actually know what's driving your behaviours and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously we're doing some work with like the I Am project and getting in the schools just to try and implement some of these values within the kids that they might not be getting at home. You know what I mean? So when they leave school, they've actually got a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and a bit of sense of direction of what they want to go and do.
Yeah.
And even, like, I think it's important just having that sense of self.
Yeah.
Because, like you've just said, then you don't learn that until you go on a journey.
No.
And it's like that moment when you wake up and you're like, shit, have I been asleep? Where have I been for the last 20 odd years? And it's like a light bulb comes on. So even just like giving them that and letting them get to know themselves from such a young age. Because I didn't know what a value was, so we went on level 4 last year. And I'm 31.
Yeah. It's like your core beliefs.
Yeah.
And you think of your core beliefs and what are your core beliefs? Where did they come from? Because we didn't like set a rules, did we? And this is what I believe in. We were told how to believe. Like girls maybe behave in a certain way and boys behave that way. And that's a big part of why we're seeing a lot of men doing what they're doing with we're seeing suicide rate at an all-time high because men don't cry. That's like an old paradigm of what men believe. So it's a belief system that they've carried throughout life. And then when things do get tough and they maybe want to talk, but they don't feel like they're allowed to because that's a belief system in them. So, yeah, it's being able to set your own beliefs and actually find yourself and who you truly want to be.
Oh, you've only been on here 10 minutes. Look how deep we're getting.
I love it.
Deep stuff.
So going from there then, so we've spoken a little bit about obviously like your dad and how that's affected your life. How was like school life for you? We were kind of going to go into like the school and the pressures, but like how was primary school and things? How was that for you growing up?
From what I can remember, like it was boss. Like I always loved school. Yeah, school was always great for me. I was always did academics, so yeah, I enjoyed every single minute of school, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, loved
and what
it.
was that like transitioning? So where are you from? What area?
Halewood.
From Halewood. So you've gone from like 10, 11 and you've started high school.
Yeah.
What was that transition like?
So I actually went to an all-girls school. I went to St. Julia's. And again, that transition was fine for me. So the good thing with what I found from going to school is I've still got that same group of mates now. Yeah. Who I met like 20 years ago. Like we're all still really close, which is nice. And again, secondary school, I loved it. Yeah, I done really well in school actually. I love studying, I love reading, I love learning. So I enjoyed every single second of it.
And how did you find that going to obviously an all-girls school? Like obviously no lads there, was it great?
Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. You know, there was no pressure about like putting your makeup on in the morning or like doing your hair or anything because you're just going in to see your mates. So I loved it. I loved school.
And was there many peer pressures around at that point and stuff in high school for you or?
Probably not. There was I didn't probably experience peer pressure until like I left school. But I feel like I was lucky enough to be around a good group of people. So I was never really peer pressured into like drinking alcohol or like taking drugs or whatever. It was just probably something I just done. Like I was just getting older, just again something that's just like socially accepted or social norm. But no, I didn't really feel any peer pressure from any of my friends or anything like that. I was quite lucky to have a good group of friends.
That's really important, isn't it, to have a good circle? And not everyone does have that circle. For me in school,
school, we went to the same high school, but our school was like, get me wrong, it was funny school, but it was brutal, you know what I mean?
Was
in
it?
terms
there
of
was
like,
a lot of pressure, weren't there?
Yeah,
in what sense?
in terms of skitting, I get absolutely like rinsed over everything, you know what I mean? It was quite brutal on the skitting side of things, and
so
how
there's
you
like
had
a
to
lot
be
of
and
peer
how you had
pressure
to
on
show up.
how you looked as a girl. It was like how you looked, and you know, you had to impress, and it was competitive, wasn't it? You were competing to be the best and the prettiest, even the fittest, because it was quite sporty our school. So there was a lot of pressures for both men and women, young girls and lads, and there was a lot of drinking pressures that came on quite early on. Like, I think for me, year 7 and 8, first year and second year high school, young? The pressures there were to drink. And there was like girls who were a bit older that we'd maybe, you know, look up to, but they weren't role models as such because they'd be out drinking, but they kind of take you in and like you felt like you were part of their circle. So drinking was kind of good because the older girls would like let you into their circles a little bit. So yeah, there was a lot of pressures for me at that age of high school. But like you just said then, like your circle's really important. If you had a circle that was supporting and didn't push that, then that's really, really helpful, isn't it?
There's probably benefits of that though for going to an all-girls school, like probably going to an all-lad school. You know, I think there is probably a lot of benefits to maybe having it separated sometimes as well.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? I do, yeah, because I think obviously lads like to be around lads and girls like to be around girls, and the competitiveness can come into it when you're around women. Someone called Chris Bale, I don't know if you know him.
No,
he's like a men's coach, and he talks a lot about like show me a beautiful woman, show me how a man acts in front of a beautiful woman, and I'll show you the man. Because men can like sort of, you know, definitely when we're teenagers anyway, you're fighting for the attention, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So going then on from school, so you said there was no peer pressures and you had a good support system. And did you have anyone else that kind of you felt was like supportive at that time? Was there was the people that you looked up to at that age, and was the role models that you maybe looked up and aspired to be like where was your path going at this point?
Do you know what? I wouldn't say it. Like, I can't think of anyone. No one can come to mind that I aspired to be like, or like a role model, or a role model that I had. I just always wanted to be the best version of myself. That's all I ever aspired to do. In everything that I've done.
So Spice Girls posters on the wall or not?
No
Spice Girls, was you?
Yeah,
I definitely did have posters on the wall, but I can't think what ones now. But no, I didn't have no role models or anyone that I aspired to be like. It was all more just focusing on like me and my own journey. For thinking back, there was no one anyway. Trying to think if there's any funny ones. Oh no, but you know, when I was growing up though, like when I was probably like mid-teens, like the kinds of people that was in the magazines, because that's what we had back then was magazines, wasn't it? It was like Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton and like Sarah even though they were a vibe, I don't think I was going to aspire to be like them. But no, I can't think if I had anyone to aspire to be like.
Yeah. So going on to like leaving school then, and that's when you said like the pressures started to come more so then. So you've left school, like I don't know, did you go straight into work or college? Like where was your next step and where did the pressures start to begin?
So when I left high school then I went into sixth form. I done my A-levels in business and IT. And then I worked, I had a little admin job for a couple of years. And then after I finished college, sixth form, I went to college then and studied AAT, which is like a finance course for like an intro into accountancy. And I'd done that for a couple of years, so I worked within finance after that. But I only ever done that because I thought it was going to earn me a lot of money, and I was absolutely terrible at it and hated it. I loved being busy, obviously. Like I rode horses all the time. I was always down the farm, so I loved being out and about and doing things. And like even when I was like down the farm, I always played sport, like whether it was swimming or netball. I was always dead active, so I weren't really doing what I loved. I was doing something to make me money, which obviously probably was the wrong way to go, but I didn't understand it at the time. But the pressures that I faced definitely growing up was the pressure to like meet somebody. Like you were never enough just on your own. I felt that was a big part of growing up. There was always a pressure about always being in a relationship for women. And I know this just because I speak to women all the time. Is I know there's a pressure on women to have kids at a certain age, get married at a certain age, look and be a certain way, like you said before, about always trying to be like sort of perfect or fit into societal norms. So there was definitely that pressure growing up, and that was like really prevalent throughout my 20s as well.
Yeah. So did you find that you were maybe searching to settle, but maybe searching in the wrong place rather from like just letting it happen? You were maybe forcing things and yeah.
Probably, and that's, yeah. But I wouldn't say searching. I'd say that I got into a couple of relationships that probably shouldn't have lasted as long as they did. But that definitely stems back to just wanting that love, that validation from a man probably. But yeah, definitely settling for less than I deserved in some points as well.
Yeah. And like you said, unconsciously somewhere there is that not having that male growing up, you just wanted that masculine role to maybe support you. Because even though as a woman you want to stand on your own 2 feet and be there for yourself, it's still nice to be held and have that security as well. I think it's something that women maybe do want, although they still want to be able to stand on their feet. They still deep down want that.
We all want to be loved.
Yeah, we do.
As you are. And as you show up, you all want to be loved, don't we?
And that's it. It's human nature. It's connection, isn't it? We all desire to have that connection. And that's probably why, like, if you've said the relationships have maybe gone longer than they should have, it's just ultimately that desire of connection. So sometimes we let things go when maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So what made you realise then, like, this isn't what I want to do? And, you know, you're chasing something. And like you said, maybe I'm doing it for the wrong reason with the money. Maybe long term it is, and at the time it was probably the right reason. It's because you just wanted that security. You wanted to be able to support yourself. But what made you realise this isn't me, and where did like everything change?
So when I was 23, I just had enough of just being in Liverpool. Like at that time, it was when things had got like really, really bad at home. And I'd gone through a very, very like challenging time, and I was just like, I'm getting off. And I went to Australia, sold my car and went to Australia. And I was out there for a year, and you know what? It was like literally the best year of my life. It was amazing, an amazing experience. So when I got there, I went with my friends and we stayed in Sydney for a little bit, and then they went out. So you have to do 88 days farm work to get your second year visa. They went and picked avocados. I rode horses on my life, so I got to work on a championship stables, winning. And at this point, I was like, sort of the question, like, what do I want to do with my life? And I was thinking, do I go to university and study equine studies and work with horses? But I was massively into me training, into me fitness. Ever since a young age, I just loved it. Yeah. I was super, super interested in it, but probably more obsessed when I was early teens, late teens, early 20s. So I went and worked on this horse ranch for 88 days, and it was boss. Like the owner of Starbucks had their horse on there and stuff. It was amazing. But I swear to God, I left that farm. I was like, I'm never working with a horse again in my life. I hated them. And then Australia is incredible. Like everyone out there is just massively into health, fitness, living this like healthy lifestyle. So it was like massively inspiring for me and like motivating. So when I got home, I come home the year later, and I started doing my PT course then. So I still worked in finance, but I work for Very, and I love working for them. They're an amazing company to work for. So I studied the personal training, like part-time, qualified, And then while still working for Berry, I went and got a little job in a gym in Sefton Park called Body and Mind. I think it's a part of the private school actually in Sefton Park. So I worked there. So I worked in Berry full-time, then there part-time in the evening, and done that for like a year because I didn't have any confidence. I passed this PT course, and I didn't think I was capable of like being a personal trainer, like speaking to people. Didn't think people would like trust me because I didn't have abs. Honest to God, this is the thing I genuinely believe. I thought no one will want to train me because I haven't got a six-pack. Honest to God, it's nuts. And then, I'm not very knowledgeable. I've just started out. So as the gym was to give me some confidence and get to maybe start talking to people a little bit more. And then, I don't know where it went from there. I think one thing just led to another, and I done my first PT client, and then it just started snowballing then. And after about a year of doing that, I built up a client base and got to leave Berry, and then done that full time. So that's how I got into the personal training. And then it all just carried on snowballing from there. Yeah.
So we take it back a little bit to like being 18, 19, 20, 21 before you went to Australia. Like, what was your life like then? Not just in terms of what you were doing with your career. What was your personal life like? What was your going out life like? What was your circle of friends? Was you going out drinking, partying, all that type of stuff? Where was you going? Was you getting up to stuff maybe? You know what I mean?
You should say before you went to Australia as well, like I've had enough and I need to get out to Liverpool.
Yeah.
What was that need to get away from what was going on? Maybe that like you needed to just escape from for a little bit to find yourself again.
So 18, let me try and think back to when I was 18. God, feels like a lifetime ago that now. Do you know what? When I started going on my first girls' holiday, I went to Ibiza. Do you know what? I did drink quite a lot during them years. Probably most weekends. Was just out partying all the time, festivals, girls' holidays, weekends away to Gate Crasher or the Warehouse Project, and we had a ball. We had a boss time. But yeah, it was quite heavy with the partying, the drinking, drugs. So that's probably the majority of my late teens, early 20s.
Where did you go in town and stuff? Did you going out in town a lot, like and Saturday nights and stuff like that?
Do you know what? We used to go out on like a Thursday. So we go to like Chalk and Cheese and then go to Garland's. Do you remember Chalk and Cheese? We go to Chalk and Cheese and Garland's and G-Bar and places like that and Passion. But I wouldn't actually, I think I've over-exaggerated a bit there. I wouldn't say it was every weekend, and we didn't take drugs all the time either, but it was a part of growing up, but it was mainly drinking and just going to events and stuff really. We had a boss time. But then that slowed down then, and it got to more just going like on a Friday night, going for like dinner and a bottle of wine with the girls and things like that as we started getting older. So it started slowing down. But when I was 23, things had got quite bad. Like my dad was really suffering at this point with like the alcohol and the drugs. This is when it was probably like the worst. So home life was quite tough at that time. What we were all like going through. And then I went through a breakup as well. And I had never experienced a breakup before, and I got my heart broken, and I was just a broken person really, and I was trying to go through like the most difficult parts of my life at home, and then also trying to go through this breakup in my personal life, and I was just like, I'd never felt so lost. I just didn't know what to do with myself, and but I was also so hurt as well, and I felt like there was no one for me to turn to at that time, and I was just like, I just need to just get away from this,
And with everything going on with your dad, was he not around the family home, or like how was you quite involved with trying to help him recover? Because I can imagine like when you try and help but you can't actually help, they've got to do it themselves. It's hard, isn't it? So like, what was that like?
I didn't have a part in it really, in helping at all, because it was it wasn't as if it was just like a little thing. It was an everyday thing, and it was becoming like quite like really toxic at home at this point. So we were all being affected by it, but no, there was nothing really I could have done at that point.
And I've got like
Sorry.
I've got like such a different view on addiction than like I used to have. I'm like, it's not like the addiction that's the problem. That the addiction is fixing something, you know what I mean? That is already maybe dysfunctional or hurt within someone, isn't it? Like I never used to look at it like that. I used to think like people with addiction have a choice. Now I know deep down in my heart that my dad would never have hurt me had he have had a choice not to be addicted. But he clearly had unresolved issues, you know what I mean? That he was unable to presence and work through and integrate himself, that he felt like he had to go and do that, or he had to be mentally ill because he had unresolved things. Because if they could choose to be another way, of course they love you.
Yeah.
And they would absolutely choose to show up for their daughter or the son, you know what I mean? There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
So like my view has completely changed like over the past couple of years just on addiction alone. And it is actually, you know, it's serving a purpose to fill a void that's empty, and if we can get to like why is there a void, and we can sort of spin addiction the way we're looking at it now as if it's an illness.
Yeah.
And you're sick, you've got a chemical imbalance in your brain, or you're not well, but it's like, well, actually something happened when I was a kid, so I've got a chemical imbalance, and this is solving that problem for me right now. So it's maybe like coming at it like again, like we say with like compassionate eyes. You know what I mean? Because there's absolutely like no way that our parents, it's mad that we've all suffered with that, like with our parents suffering with addiction. Like there's no way that your parents don't love you and that they're operating in the best way they know how.
That's it. And I think if I know if you met my dad, he's a lovely fella.
Yeah.
He's a proper sound man. But they're just battling their own demons that are stronger than them. And it is a mental health illness, isn't it? But I feel like more now, there's so much, like you're doing incredible work with men, Paul. And I just think if like this could have been around a bit earlier, there would have been could have helped a lot more men. Going forward now, there's like you're making a huge impact. I know in Liverpool, and it's gonna go all around the world. But for this reason, like just being able to get to the root cause of people's problems and why they feel like they need to do that to blank something out, or I don't know, fill that void like you said.
That's what you've just said as well. Like that was like perfect. Getting to the root cause. That's something that's missed in a lot of things, isn't it? Is that
I've got anxiety.
We label
there's a tablet,
something,
you know what I mean? Like,
so
I've got
we
anxiety.
label.
Why have you got anxiety? Why?
Yeah, that's the thing, is you're labelled with, you can be labelled with anything. So whether it is alcoholism or anxiety or depression, my mum with her bipolar, all of these things they're able. So then what next? Okay, well, how can we deal with it? A lot of the times medication or certain types of therapy. And then what? But it's moving forward, but let's go back to the root cause. When you said that, then it really like I felt something, because it was something that's quite alive, is that if we could get to the root cause of things, we can understand the labels as such, to then be able to maybe work with it in a better way, a more sufficient way, because we're seeing numbers now. Like my background's paediatric nursing, and I'm seeing so many young kids coming in. Like I worked on a surgical board, and I'm expecting to get kids coming in getting tonsils taken out and all of these kinds of things, and I'm getting like self-harm patients, and they're getting younger and younger. I'm getting like, I'm seeing so much, but again, it's the delivery of like, they've got, you know, maybe they've got anorexia. So this is how we're going to treat it, and it's like, but why have they got it? And it's something that's massively missed. And it's if we can dig deeper and get to root causes, we might see these numbers, because self-harm, suicide rates, not only in men and women, it's rising in children also. Like we're seeing it younger. And we spoke a little bit before about the peer pressures. Peer pressures right now. We didn't have Instagram and Facebook and all that when we were kids,
can't even begin to
we?
imagine that pressure, can you? Because you used to be able to go in and shut your door. You wouldn't have to deal with your mates till the next day. Now it's like, they're on you all the time.
It is 24/7.
That's it. There's no escape whatsoever. You're in that world all the time.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
So yeah, root cause, definitely, like, it's something that is so important, and it's something like you've been able to do. I think it's powerful and brave that you've done work on yourself so that you can like understand your dad, because we can quite easily say, you know, we feel the pain that we've gone through. So like, I'm hurt, so I'm angry at you and I'm hurt because of what you've done to me.
Yeah.
But thinking, right, okay, I understand that you're hurting and I'll be there when you're ready. And I know maybe you're not ready right now, but being able to come a compassionate place is so important. So I think it's amazing that you've been and you've done what you've done. You've done your own journey. I know you've done like a lot of work on yourself, and you're bringing this to other women of the city who may be going through the same things. And on what you are is you're relatable. You're relatable because you've got a story. You've got a real story that, you know, looking at you know, you look at all your pages and you might just be this amazing girl to look at, but there's a story behind that, and that is so relatable to so many people in the city of Liverpool and further afield, isn't it, Sam?
Thank you. And I think that's important to remember. When you meet somebody, you're only meeting them. You don't know what's going on surface level, and everyone's got a story. We've all got a story, haven't we?
Yeah. Never judge a book by its cover. It's like a true saying, isn't it?
And it's true. But what you said then about getting to the root cause of things as well. You see, like, I know we're seeing it more now, because like when people are going into the GPs or the doctors and they are just prescribing, they're taught to prescribe, aren't they? But I know now that a lot of doctors are going into more like holistic practices, so they can ask questions, like, rather than like, I don't know, I'm going to use being depressed, for example. They'll go in, like, I know this, my mate rang the other week, and they said I'm feeling a bit down, I'm a bit stressed, and they went, how long do you want off work? And there's antidepressants and beta blockers in the chemist for you. Didn't ask her anything. And it was like, why couldn't you just had a conversation with her and been like, well, tell me a little bit more about your lifestyle. How's your sleep? How's your nutrition? Like, are you exercising? Are you leaving the house? When's the last time you seen your friends or your family? So like, this is where what I'm trying to do with Forever Fit is like, give them questions so they can have an awareness of like, this actually might be why I'm feeling a bit down. So looking at everything.
It's a holistic and modernised approach to it, isn't it? And like, you know, I'm not making like medication the enemy, you know what I mean? Some people need it. They need it like 100%. There and then, but it should be like, there should be some sort of plan to get them off. It shouldn't be like, my dad went in and he was like on all kinds like lithium and like really, really strong stuff. But there was no plan to get him off. They were just keeping him on them. I went in a couple of years ago and they give me like SSRIs, which is like serotonin uptake inhibitors. And they didn't once ask like, why? What's happened in your past, you know what I mean? They didn't tell me that they lowered testosterone levels. They didn't tell me that, you know, they'd make me feel a certain way and completely null my experience of life. So I wasn't even educated on what I was having, but I went away and researched it, you know. But it didn't deal with the problem. It just masked over it. And like I say, it was useful to a point, but there has to be like certain processes and procedures in place to bring people back to maybe get them off medication and let them empower themselves, because we're disempowering people by leaving them on medication for the rest of their life and saying that you're depressed and you're a manic depressive, so you never have to go and do this or this, and we end up putting people in like these boxes and that's you for life now.
That's it. Like, obviously my background being a nurse, and there's some incredible doctors and nurses that I've worked with, they 100% serve the purpose. But it's that self-empowerment, isn't it? It's knowing, like, before we might be so quick to go and seek help, see if there's anything we can do ourselves. And like, I love what you've just said, is in like your nutrition. What are we eating? Food has a massive effect on your mood, food and exercise. So if you are feeling a bit low and you are feeling or need help, having a little bit of a checklist of like, okay, maybe do a little bit of exercise, change my diet a little bit this week, see how I'm feeling, and they might feel great and they might not, and they might need to go and seek help, and that's fine. But it's having those tools to be able to it's
like the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, you know what I mean? And you're ticking them boxes in your life. If you're ticking them boxes 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in a good place. And if you're not, then seek support.
Yeah. Then like it's even like you've just said about nutrition then, like gut health is so important and no one understands like the importance of it. So for example, like the way you mentioned about serotonin, then so the majority of that is produced in your gut, and that's actually produced from the foods that you eat. So if you haven't got a high quality diet, if you've got a low quality diet, your upregulation of serotonin will be lowered. Whereas if you've got a diet that's rich in nutrients, fibre, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, like protein, clean proteins, that'll naturally upregulate your serotonin and make you like feel happy, which is serotonin's a feel-good hormone. It's a happy chemical. So that'll make you feel good. Then obviously, even if you get out in nature and go for a walk, you're not going to go for a run, you haven't got to go to the gym, but just do something to move your body and get them endorphins flowing. So just by combining your nutrition, serotonin, and your training for endorphins, they're two hormones that'll make you naturally feel happier. So it's so important, and it's so underestimated the positive impact that them two things can have on your life and how you feel day to day.
And that's it. It's like just having that little bit of education. So it's amazing for all the work that you're doing is to help educate. Because the hormone a lot of us are probably living in is the cortisol hormone, isn't it? Constantly stressed. We live in a very busy, chaotic society, and you think we're constantly in that fight or flight, spreading the cortisol around the body all the time, just like running around. It's just...
We're usually moving towards or moving away from something all the time. We're either moving towards or we're moving away. And then when we're in that zone, which, you know, again, it comes down to how we're set up, how the system's set up sometimes, that we're always living in that survival mechanism of reacting to life all the time, you know what I mean? So we are stuck in that sort of... For me, when I get in that place, I know that comes from trauma. There's a traumatic reaction happening in me that I have to get there, and I need to move away from there, so I can't be here. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, if you can slow yourself down and then to just regulate yourself a little bit and chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? Just take a breath.
Get to yoga.
Literally get to fucking yoga.
It was like me at the beginning. I introduced this podcast, and Paul usually introduces it. And I'm going to be honest, I was like, because usually it'd be like episode 10, this is who it is. But it's like we had to announce like a new sponsor. And I was like, wow, cortisol's like going here, take a breath. And then that's it, I've started breathing. You mightn't have noticed, but I'm sitting here breathing at the first like 5 minutes. And I'm okay now, I'm just chatting. And like 2 weeds flying around me now.
But a little bit of cortisol is actually good for the body in certain we need it. But then it can just take over.
Like you need stress to move, you know what I mean? Otherwise you just sit there and do anything. So you actually need to be bouncing between like your nervous system state. You need to be in your sympathetic state sometimes, because it makes you, it's like your sole purpose, if you like. It'll make you move towards something which you need to sometimes. But it's when we're stuck there, which we seem to be stuck there a lot, don't we?
And just getting, because they call it the silent killer, don't they? Elevated levels of cortisol or stress, however you want to put it, because it affects everything. It affects your gut health. So anyone who's got like digestive issues, that'll be the first thing. I'll talk to them about like how's your personal life, how do you feel day to day, and or how's work, and it'll just be stress on all levels. And honestly, if you can put some stress management protocols in place, and that'll massively help like the gut health, digestive health, and then stress will affect like your mental health, your energy, your mood, how you feel day to day, how productive you are, what type of food you eat. So even just being able to manage that on its own and having protocols in place to be able to bring that down, like you said, like even just breathing. The
most simplest thing is to slow your breath. And when we slow the breath, we slow the body, and everything else slows down. But we sort of don't do that. We're not even like, no one's telling anyone to like slow down. As soon as you're stressed or someone's hurt or angry, what's the first thing we say? Breathe, because everyone's getting all irate and het up, aren't they? And when we can just slow the breath down, that's like a massive thing, even with anxiety, depression, and a lot of the gut is always, people think like it's the brain. that basically is speaking down to the body. But a lot of it's the body speaking to the brain. Is it like something like 70% of our nerves go from the body up to the brain, and then the brain interprets what the body's sensing. Yeah, all right. I think I'm right in saying that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though.
Yeah. So, and like you said as well, it's like maybe people are a little bit too quick to be disempowered, and we've got these tools. We breathe. We do it daily. We don't need anyone to help us breathe. We can do that. Just getting the right foods, going for a walk in nature. These are tools that we can do. And yeah, some people do need that help. And if they need it, they should seek it. But just empowering themselves to maybe check in with themselves first and try these simple tools of breathing and getting out and going for walks and stuff. And trying to empower themselves, and then again knowing themselves if they need more help. There's plenty of help out there. So yeah,
and also understanding themselves though, having that awareness around the self-awareness. Like where's this coming from? Yeah, these feelings of anxiety or whatever it is. That's massively important, I think.
Yeah.
So it's 25, yeah.
25.
You're on you're 25 now, yeah. So you're 23. You've been on your trip to Australia, yeah. At the time of your life, you'll never work with horses again. You've come back, got into doing a bit of the PT work, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you started to build up a bit of a client base.
Yeah.
And then how was that transitioned to where you are now? Because like I'm sitting here with Carly and you, and it's like powerhouse women, really, innit? You know, and this is the first woman on the podcast, so I'm a little bit like, what are you gonna do now? So yeah, tell us how that worked out for you then, Aimee. Like what started to happen? You say the snowball effect, and talk us through that.
So when I started PT, and then I had a massive passion for helping women, more so helping women like achieve their goals without probably not making the mistakes that I learned on my health and fitness journey. I've tried every single diet in the book. I had quite a lot of issues with my own body from a very young age, but again I think that was a little bit of pressure on women as well, and body trends change all the time, don't they? You have to look and be, there was a pressure to look and be a certain way. As I've got older though, it's not that bad anymore. But so I always wanted to be the smallest version of myself, so I was constantly dieting, constantly doing whatever, trying all these diets to be the smallest, lightest, skinniest version of myself. And as I got older, I figured out that it was more about creating a healthy lifestyle, and I wanted to be able to show women that they could do it in an easy and an enjoyable way. Because I actually ended up going and I think I was 25, I ended up doing a bodybuilding competition.
Did you?
Really? Yeah. I'm going to get the pictures up with a mahogany.
I have to get Jacob to find them pictures.
So when I was... I think I was 25. I was already training. I've been weight training for a couple of years, been in the gym for a while. And I was like, I'm going to do a show. I've always been, I love challenges, love setting myself little goals. But actually prior to the bodybuilding, I actually done beauty pageants as well. And I won Miss UK in this American Dream one, and went the Bahamas for the World Finals. That was when I was actually early 20s. So the body issues probably started from very early on because of all of that and all the dieting and stuff. And then I went on to the bodybuilding, and then after a couple of years later, after
that is proper dieting though, isn't it? Like you got to be really careful what you're eating, and even like toothpaste and things like that.
Oh, I haven't heard about toothpaste, but...
Yeah, it was like, because a couple of my mates, I used to like be in a bodybuilding gym, and they couldn't even they could only sip water, they could barely eat, they couldn't have toothpaste, because it's hold water, and even like having like, seriously, right, women's period tablets to take water off your body.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it would strip you more.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, that's like the extreme like you can go to with it.
Yeah, well, it is an extreme sport, isn't it?
Yeah. And fair play to anyone who does it, because that's not easy.
I'm going to say now, that was the most challenging 6 months of my life, you know. So I decided in the January that I was going to compete in the June, and I did a diet for 6 months, and it was just so challenging. Getting to them low levels of body fat as a woman, like it was just dead hard, the training, the diet, and I remember the coach I had at the time, I was like, this is absolute hell. Like, I just ate beige foods for 6 months, and I thought, I didn't understand nutrition though. I just done what he told me to do, and I was like, it can't be that hard. It doesn't have, the diets don't have to be this ridiculous. I know I was training for the bodybuilding competition, so that spurred me on then to keep learning about nutrition and the body more. So after, when I done the PT, when I was PT, I'd done that up until, when did we go into lockdown? When was
2020
that?
was the start
Was
of
it
2020.
2020 or 2019, was it? 2020?
Start of 2020, yeah.
So I've been PTing for like 4 years, maybe up until this point. And I wrote a program, I wrote the 8-week program. But that was only going to be an ebook to give to people, which contained all the information they needed to lose weight and then to keep it off and maintain the weight. So it was a lot of nutritional education, guidelines to follow, workout program, etc. And this was purely because I was seeing that personal training was a luxury. Like, not everyone can afford it. And I wanted to be able to just give people something to follow so that they could feel better and achieve weight loss results themselves. So I wrote that. And then the year before lockdown, I launched it, so 2019. And it was just a little ebook. And then in the year later, we went into lockdown. So we already had an online program. I already had an online platform. And it just took off for me. I think you either went one way or the other during lockdown, didn't you? Either was on the live workouts with me, or you were drunk and you're back on. You were one or the other, or like just eating all the time. So it went from an ebook into an online platform. And there was literally just people from all around the world, like, just joining it. It was amazing. So through the lockdown, the online stuff just boomed for me. I had the 8 weeks. I'd done a lot of one-to-one online coaching. And that's what I've been doing up until now, really. And then, it's only been in probably the last year that I had the idea for Forever Fit, and I've just been building that the last 12 months, really.
So we'll go into Forever Fit a little bit more, but going back then too, so when you were saying, like, you were doing your bodybuilding, and you were always trying constant diets. So you're always trying diets to be a certain way because your foot wants to be the smallest. And then you go into a sport where it is so intense. How was that on you? Like, was there ever any, like, struggles along there? Because a lot of girls do try these hundreds of diets and they get so obsessed with, like, scales and numbers, and it can become unhealthy mentally for us, can't it?
Yeah.
Did you have any of those challenges yourself personally? Was that a little bit of your drive to do what you did because you had your own personal struggles? Because I know for women, that's one of the massive struggles, isn't it? Is, like you said, there's been all these trends for the size zeros, and then the next thing, it's like curves. And then it fluctuates, so it's a massive pressure on women.
Yeah. So during that time, so I definitely had body image issues from a very young age. I actually remember the day of where it all stemmed from as well. When I was in school, in the all-girls school, it's actually quite weird what they used to make us do. So we used to have to go and do PE, right? And we used to have to wear these gym knickers, and I'm not joking. They were actual knickers, and they used to make us run around Camp Hill in these knickers, right? And I remember walking out in these knickers. I must have been about 14, and I'm linking my best mate, and she goes to me, something about her legs wobbling, and I had never ever noticed another woman's body or noticed my own body or anything like that. And it was like, I remember coming home to my mum and I looked down and my legs wobbled, and I was like, oh my God, is this bad? Are they not supposed to? And it made me feel dead sick. And I come home, I remember crying to Mum in the kitchen. I was like, Mum, my legs are wobbling. I was like, I need to go on a diet or something. My mum actually was just played along with me. But this is when it all started. And I started eating a lot less, started getting really obsessive about the way I looked and couldn't have any fat on me and stuff. It was, at the time, I actually didn't think it was that bad. But when I look back, it was actually quite bad. But so that was quite prevalent through like me teens and stuff, and I used to be really obsessive with like my food. So I'd lie about saying like I've ever been out with my mates, I'd say I had seen someone's and I wouldn't eat them for night, or I'd go to the gym and I'd do 3 gym classes back to back every day. I was a lunatic with it all. I just got really obsessive, but for the wrong reasons. It was all about to just stay the smallest version of myself. But that had a lot of like health implications on me growing up as well, which I'll speak about in a minute. But the bodybuilding, when I'd done that, I've honestly never been like so unhappy with my own body, because I was constantly looking at the number on the scale, constantly picking myself apart. I was going on a stage to get judged for how lean I was. I was comparing to all other women. And that was probably the least time, the time where I was least happy with my body and had the most issues with my body during that time, because it was so focused on how you looked.
Yeah. Like you say, you are doing something to be judged. You're putting yourself in that position, aren't you? To allow people to judge whether you're enough, like you look good enough. So you're putting yourself in the firing line, aren't you?
And you know what? The only reason I'd done that bodybuilding competition was because I thought I needed to be able to get I needed to show people that I can get myself in them lean levels of body fat and get abs so that people trusted me. That's what I genuinely believe when I first started.
You felt like as a PT you had to be a certain way, look a certain way to actually for people to want to invest the work with you.
Yeah. When it's not even about that. And that doesn't even matter. It's not even healthy. At the time, I didn't realise it though, but that was the only reason why I'd done it.
Yeah. And it's like, it's following on. We've spoken about pressures, like when we're young, maybe going out and drinking. There's pressures even going into certain lines of work. And
it's pressures still now, isn't it? Like for women, men and women to show up and look a certain way and act a certain way and be a certain way, isn't it?
Yeah, and like you've like, it mightn't have been that anyone even thought that, but you've put a pressure on yourself. It's come from somewhere. Whether it's comments that you've heard, like the pressures of being a certain size from something that happened so when you were young with the school situation. And that stays with you for all your life, hasn't it? So there's pressures, there's comments that are said that have a massive imprint on us as we carry on with our lives.
So it wouldn't even, like the way you've just said then, it probably wasn't even like a lot of societal pressures. The biggest pressure was I was putting it on me, that was coming from me and through my own issues though, or little beliefs I had.
Yeah, like talking about them beliefs again, the core beliefs. And then again, when you think of it, pressures, where do a lot of your pressures come from? They come from ourselves, don't they? We can be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, we're our own worst critics, aren't we?
Yeah. So, going on to a little bit more then about your Forever Fit. So you've done your 8 weeks and with Aimee and lockdown, and that was...
You must have been made up at lockdown then.
Honest to God, it was brilliant.
Keep this going.
Love honest to God, I think I was one of the very few people that loved lockdown. I really
hard work, I thought,
yeah.
It's tough, you know. I had to work like through it, you know what I mean?
Did ya?
Most older people were off, but we were busier than ever in our job, like, because it was really hot. So I was going all around the country still, you know what I mean?
Oh, boss.
Everyone else was posting pictures in the back garden, either drinking or exercising.
We were both in work, really full on, weren't we? Obviously, I was in the hospitals. And I think just before lockdown, with my boxing, it was really hard to do nursing and boxing. And I'd made a decision, I think it was like in the November time, wasn't it? That I was going to join the agency so that I could pick and choose my shifts, so that I could be in a training camp. And then when I weren't fighting, I could then go back into the hospital. So I did this, went onto the agency, and then lockdown happened. And I was getting because I wasn't on the ward where I'd worked, I was getting moved all around the hospital. So it was really, really intense. Because I was going to IC quite a lot, weren't I? Seeing like a lot of the struggles that were happening. And then obviously bringing it home, and you were in work full on and the kids were off school. So it was definitely a challenging couple of months for us.
Could have done with having a look at your app. Hitting on that while I was away.
But yeah, you've probably, without even realising, like you've wanted to help people with a plan, a map that helps them. And it came probably at a time that it was needed so
Really
much.
needed,
Like you've done probably more than you'd ever set out to do with that because of the time that it came out. Like people needed something during lockdown, didn't they? And they just needed something. And having women all over the world is absolutely massive, isn't it? It's like you weren't just doing it in Liverpool. It was far and wide. So that's like incredible. So well done, Aimee, on that.
Oh,
was that ever the plan?
No.
Since, you know what I mean? Obviously you were doing your PT, and was it never was in your plan?
Never
to
was
do
in
it,
the plan.
and like obviously lockdowns happened, and you just improvised with what you were doing.
Yeah,
and
and
packaged it in a different way, and
so I've never had a plan with any of it, to be honest. Like when I started PT, and it was always just to help others. And then I wanted like I said, the book deal to give to people who couldn't afford the personal training, so that they could still do that. And then it was just when we went into lockdown, I realised there was a lot more people that wanted to work with me, but on a larger scale. Like there was one intake, there was like close to 500 people on it, and I couldn't manage that. So I'm lucky enough to have a brilliant team around me who do like me web development, graphic design. I work with a business coach, so we just all worked together and developed an online platform, and then and now it basically runs itself, really.
That's what I was going to ask. Like obviously you've had an idea, and that idea is just kind of catapulted without you even realising. Was the support for you? Like, did you have a good support system, and was the things there to help you as a woman growing a business? Like, what kinds of like support network did you have?
My mum was always my little motivator, like, and my little support system. Like she helped a lot. But I think because I was so passionate about it and I was so driven, I was reading every book. I was at every single seminar I could get to. I've invested so much money into courses, personal development, coaches, to always try and improve the service, like for women that come and work with me.
For the women that you do get, what tends to be like because we've spoken a lot about pressures, haven't we? And is there a kind of like trend as to what the woman is? This kind of like a thing with a lot of women is that diet and not feeling good enough, and not diet, not work. And like, is there a trend of, I don't know, how much interaction do you have with these women and the struggles? Like
challenges that they're facing, Is there a sense like the challenges that women face?
Because there'll be a lot of women watching like that don't really know what works, and might feel a little bit disempowered at the minute, because a lot of us, like, especially over the past couple of years, a lot of people have lost their jobs and they've had to maybe be at home more with the kids, and their lives have just completely been
done a 360.
So it's like what advice you can give them, because like what kinds of trends are normal? It's I don't like to say the word normal, but a lot of people are going through.
Well, there's obviously a lot of information out there right now, isn't there, when it comes to like improving like your health and fitness. And because there's that much information, you can look online and you can Google how to lose weight, and it'll come up with 30 different ways. So it's confusing. It is confusing on where to start, how to start, for a lot of women. So that's probably one of the main things, is people feel confused. They feel overwhelmed. A lot of people feel embarrassed as well, about sort of where they're at, and they just don't know like where to start. Money's a big issue right now for a lot of people, especially with like the cost of living going up and everything's just so expensive at the minute. But the main one is probably that women struggle with is definitely the body image. So with Forever Fit, like I always say, like fit by definition means to be in good health. It's not a size, it's not a shape, it's a feeling. And when I've worked with women, they always just say like how amazing they feel afterwards, not about a number on the scale or in the clothes. They might come to me and they might want to lose 2 stone, but they might get down to 1 stone and they'd be like, you know what, I feel amazing. I've got my confidence back. I feel fitter and healthier than I ever have done. And that's more important than a number on the scale. So just taking it away from a sort of a number or how they look and changing it to how they feel. And focusing on other things, more important things.
They come in for one thing and then leave thinking, wow, like that is what I wanted, but that's not even a problem now. Like everything else is so good and feeling better and just feeling confident and being out and being like meeting people, like being confident to like speak as well.
Yeah, it's massive. But yeah.
So speaking, you just said a little bit about what I do with Forever Fit. Tell us a little bit more about Forever Fit, because we've obviously spoken about 8 weeks with Aimee. Tell us more about the Forever Fit, because that's like you said, like a full 360. It's not just the physical. There's so much involved with that, isn't there?
So last year, so March 2021 was it? Yeah. I'd literally, all I've ever done was worked with weight loss clients. And I've always sort of just spoke about weight loss on like platforms or on socials or on videos. And I realised that there was so much more to a health and fitness journey other than just weight loss and other reasons to take care of not just your physical health but your mental health as well, through exercise and nutrition. So this is probably when I was quite deep into my own little journey as well last year when I had the idea, but I just didn't know how to put it together. So since March 21 I've been putting this together. And then level 4 was a big so me and Paul done level 4 together. Which how would you describe what level 4 was?
One was a boss group.
Yeah, we had a boss group.
Some people probably think they've got a great group, but our group was like, it was a power group, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was loads of like, there was loads of just amazing people on it, and everyone just seemed to like get on so well, didn't they?
Yeah.
But it was really like, it was eye-opening, wasn't it? For a lot of like where you are. For me personally, it was like where I am to where I want to go. You know what I mean? And it really hit me hard in a place that I was actually at that point, because sometimes you want everything now. Certainly I do. I want everything now when I'm not ready for it. So when we were on level 4, if I'd have had everything I wanted then, there's no way like my nervous system
could have handled it.
Would have been ready, you know what I mean, to take it on. So I feel like it happened at the right time. And then the final day was just like...
Yeah, it was powerful, wasn't it?
Especially with the dog.
Yeah, that was hilarious, wasn't it?
But it was just it was a boss experience, to be honest. Yeah, how did you find it?
Yeah, it was tough. I had one of my biggest light bulb moments on that course. So it was like a 12-week like transformational course, wasn't it? Really, that looked at filling like the four cups. It wasn't it, which is your physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And that was that a little light bulb clicked there for me, and was just like, we actually need to be for all to improve like your overall health and well-being. We need to look at these 4 pillars and these the 4 cups, and how we can fill each of these up to achieve that, to be your happiest most and live your most fulfilled life. So your physical will be like your exercise, your nutrition, your sleep. Your mental will be like podcasts, reading, things like that. I can't think of another one. Spiritual is like your meditation, breath work, connecting to yourself. And then emotional is doing things that you love and enjoy, connecting with people, spending time with friends and family, laughter. And if you can like focus on filling all of these areas up rather than just focusing on the physical, which a lot of people can't just do.
We've all have done it. You know? You have with your boxing. I've probably been really like unbelievably fit, but then never been so broken at the same time. So like, you think that there's a bigger picture to the puzzle, you know what I mean? There's bigger pieces when you bring them all together. It's like bringing the ingredients together, isn't it? And you get the perfect recipe.
I probably always thought I'm physically and mentally great, so I'm okay, but emotionally, like, not good at all. That's one that I probably barely neglected.
And it's just having creating the awareness around these 4 cups and showing people, right, well, being able to ask themselves them questions, right? Well, how am I filling these cups up? And just starting to have that's what Forever Fit is. It's a virtual online self-care toolkit that they can use to fill these cups up. So obviously the physical, they will have access to, depending on what they enjoy, whether it's live workout, gym workout, home workout program, nutritional coaching, education around, because if I start talking about calories and macros, people think I'm speaking in a foreign language, but then again, that's only one way of looking at nutrition. There's so many other ways, non-tracking, tracking, and just education around nutrition in general, sleep, stress management protocols, meditation, breath work, yoga, and then the community, for just creating that sense of community for people, where they can come on, they can open up, they can share, they can make friends, and feel like they belong, be a part of something. So it's giving people basically access to a lot of different things that they can use to become their healthiest and happiest and fittest self.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it does. It sounds so powerful. So well done on building that as well, because like you said, you've done so much work on yourself, and you're continuously investing in yourself. So you're filling all 4 cups up all the time, aren't you? You're really making sure you get to each part of yourself.
Try to, yeah. It can be hard, can't it? Sometimes I find myself sometimes always in when you're doing mode, you forget to rest or you forget to have fun.
Yeah.
But when you've actually got that awareness of the 4 cups, if you like, then you can actually review your day and reflect. Where have I not been in alignment with me 4 cups? Okay, I'm in me doing and I'm burnt out. It's like, well, no shit, you know what I mean? You just work that hard for how many days, go and have some fun, let your hair down a little bit, go and get around people you like, go and eat some nice food, go and meditate, go and do a bit of breathing.
Just go and sit, So learning to have the balance between them all, and then hopefully you will live a more happier and fulfilled life. So that's the aim with it. So whereas I feel like I've helped women so much with just weight loss in the past, now I'm helping them with everything really, and to achieve optimal health and well-being, not just physically but mentally, spiritually and emotionally.
So what is your actual mission then? Where's this going?
So the mission with Forever Fit then is to educate and inspire and change the lives. It was going to just be of women, to be honest, but it's going to be for everyone.
It's evolving.
For everyone, all around the world. To achieve optimal health and well-being. That's the mission with it, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And my biggest goal with it is to be able to get it into like corporate companies and help with the well-being of employees, because we know that can be quite a stressful place and stuff, so for some people. So I feel like if I can get that into businesses and really take care of the wellness of the staff, then that'll be a better place to work, and they'll have more productive staff, they'll be happier, less sick days. That's the big aim with it.
Yeah,
that's massive, isn't it? It's like if you're going into work with all these stresses and you're not giving yourself that time to fill those 4 cups up, as an employee, you're not going to give the best. Employers aren't going to get the best out of the staff. So if that's something that can be brought into the workplace, then it's massive, isn't it?
And sometimes that gets missed. It's like the people that struggle the most are the ones that are in work. Sometimes we look to obviously the most vulnerable and deprived people sometimes that aren't able to work, or for whatever reason, or things might have happened in their life, but the people that are actually working, if you go into mental health and stuff like that, they're the ones who take their own life. And a lot of men in construction take their own life more than any other industry, and they're men that are all working. So to be able to deliver that in that sort of environment, it's massive, isn't it?
And it's just something that they can access that nobody else will even know about.
Exactly.
They can get home that night and just sit in the comfort of their own home and go, do you know what, I'm going to do a little breathing exercise here, or I'm going to look into this meditation, or we'll have like amazing guest speakers on. So for example, this month we've actually got Carly on. Carly's the first guest, so she's going to be doing an inspirational talk about her journey, and then I've got another lady coming on talking about hormonal health and the menstrual cycle, the menopause. And then next month I have got a lady coming on, a body image therapist, a psychotherapist, and a life coach. So there's they're going to have access to so many different things regardless of where they're at in the journey, personally and professionally. So it's nice because they don't even have to talk about it to anyone else. It's a journey that they can go on without anyone else knowing, because I know some people might not go to yoga or breathwork or meditation because it's spiritual and woo-woo, but it's that paradigm shifting now. So I'm hoping by creating something like this that it'll give a lot of people access to something that they might never ever go and do or go and see.
Samples it might do. Yeah,
and it's self-empowering so many people, isn't it? It's getting that education themselves and learning so much on how they can create a better lifestyle for themselves. And that's the aim, isn't it? It's to self-empower people, people to believe that they've got these tools and they can access them.
Oh, you must be really proud.
Well, I haven't launched
really
it yet.
Proud.
So when is the launch date?
Defo.
I don't actually know yet. I'm just the girls who finished the last intake at the 8 weeks, they're just running. I've just give it to them at the minute and just said, just give me some feedback on it, because I don't want to do an official launch and then there's loads of little snags. So we're just making sure everything's in place. It's ready to go. It looks amazing, and I'm really, really happy with it. It's just I just need to launch it now, and then we'll take it from there. Really,
I'm sure it'll be massive. Really
sounds amazing.
I know it's going to help a lot of people, and that's the main aim with it. And I think when you've got good intentions with something, you can never really go wrong.
No,
definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
So should we do? We usually ask a couple of questions at the end, like quickfire, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Just to put it on the spot. I'm not asking about Jacob.
Go for it.
Right. So, again, sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, Aimee.
Right.
What is your motto or your quote?
Oh God, I wouldn't.
And it mightn't be one that you set up yourself, but one maybe that you love that like inspires you. So a quote.
Oh God, I don't know. I love quotes. I've probably got about 2,000 saved in my phone.
You love just too many.
A few out there then.
I couldn't tell you right now. These are on the spot questions.
Yeah. They're called the quickfire questions.
Oh, I'm not very good at these quickfire questions. I don't know one, I'm sorry.
So we go back to them then.
Go back to them.
So what does it mean to you to be a woman?
Bloody hell, Carly. These are
I ask every man on this. That's my one.
That's Paul's, so I obviously had to ask the woman side of it.
What does it mean to be a woman to me? Oh, bloody hell, that's a deep question. That's a very deep question. Do you know, as I've got older, it's more about being able to stand in my own power, unapologetically, and just be like the truest, most authentic version of myself. That's really what it means to me to be a woman, and know that I can achieve literally anything that I set my mind to, just like any man can. That's probably, I think so.
Good
Lovely.
answer.
And I loved it unapologetically. It's just being you as you are without having to apologise and follow a certain way. Just this is me. So lovely. So we go back.
Okay.
You're not letting it away with them, no.
We'll see how many of you. So, inspirational woman, and this can be anyone that's maybe touched you personally in your life growing up, or maybe somebody that you've looked up to.
Do you know what? It's probably like always being my mum, you know. My mum's been a massive part of like my journey, obviously, but like she's always inspired me to like do better. She's like a proper powerhouse. My mum, she's a proper warrior. like full of strength, but full of love and full of compassion. So she's always inspired me to just be the best version of myself, and she's always made me believe that like I can literally do whatever I set my mind to. So she's probably been my biggest inspiration in life, and she's been through a lot, my mum. And like I just know that like if she can like go through, like get through what she's been through, like it's like anyone, like I can basically do anything. So she's always inspired me to she's probably my biggest inspiration, my mum.
Lovely. Nice. Thank you. So we'll maybe leave the next one. It's something for you to think about.
Okay,
It's a bottom, isn't it? For
I'll
the
come
next
back
one.
to you on that.
But yeah, just any advice that you'd give to any woman, something that might help other women that maybe you've found on your own little journey. Just a little bit of advice.
Oh God, there's so much advice I could give you, but I don't want to make it too long.
So if a woman came to you now, said, Aimee, I'm really struggling and I need your help, support, and you said they're struggling physically and mentally, what would you say?
Oh, it's hard to answer that one because there's so much context to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to answer.
Get into it a bit more,
Probably the best piece of advice I could give to any woman is to probably get to know themselves on a deeper level. And I know that sounds like really like spiritual and woo-woo, but going on that journey and sort of like figuring out who you really are and why you behave a certain way or why certain things play out or why there's certain patterns showing up in your life, and just getting that deeper sense of self and finding out what your true purpose is or what your values, your beliefs are, and really figuring that out is and also how you want your life to play out or what the vision is for your future. I think if you start there, that's just going to set a massive foundation for your future and how you can sort of start your own little journey. Because I feel like some people might start their own journey for maybe the wrong reasons. Maybe it's because it's someone else's belief that they're living.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they can start their own journeys and get to know themselves on a deeper level, I think that would be a brilliant place to start.
Yeah. Well, as you were saying that then, funnily enough, something came to me then, and I don't even know whether you'll remember, but quite a while ago, I think it was maybe the first time I met you, and I was probably a bit like worried about what people thought, and like you said, people maybe think, oh, what are they doing, like with meditation and things like that, and you said to me, don't worry about what anyone else thinks. Just like it's nothing to do with them, it's not their business, like you do you, and that's their problem, that's nothing to do with them. And yeah, it's something that, like as you were saying then, came up for me, and I was like, yeah, it's been the advice that you've given me, and I took it on board. So thank you.
Boss, you're welcome. I forgot I said that. Little words of wisdom.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, you're welcome. I've loved it.
Yeah, I've loved getting to know about your story, and all the work that you're doing is absolutely amazing. Thanks. And I'm sure that it's going to help many, like not even just women, so many people. So yeah, you should be so proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Just quickly, how can people follow you for your programmes? We'll get this all added on as well, but for people who want to maybe get involved with Forever Fit or 8 Weeks with Aimee, is just all on your social media?
Yeah, so the main one is my main Instagram account is Aimee Ormesher, and Aimee spelled AIMEE. And then I'll have to shall I spell it or shall you John? Right, okay.
We'll put it on the podcast.
I've got it's not making it easy for you to find me. So AIMEE and then Ormesher, ORMESHER. That's the main platform, and then all my services and programs are on there.
Amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Aimee.
Thank you.